Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the impact of President Trump ending tariff exemptions on goods valued under $800. Also tonight, details on the Anti-Defamation League's latest study in the fight against anti-Semitism. And a new global study shows that freshwater is disappearing at alarming rates. On stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. President Trump's domestic policy bill has permanently eliminated the so-called de minimis tax exemption, which allows shipments to U.S. businesses and consumers valued under $800 to enter the U.S. free of duty and taxes. The elimination takes effect on August 29th and will likely impact a number of industries, most notably shoes and clothing and cosmetics. Joining us now is Dr. Danielle Testa from ASU's Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, better known as FIDM. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Now, did I explain, is that what the de minimis tax exemption really is?
It is, yeah. It is. Historically, de minimis actually, roughly, I don't speak Latin, but is Latin for too small to matter. So for really small shipments, that saves time at importing to not have to really go through the duty process.
And when really small shipments, we mean under $800.
Correct. So historically, that value was a lot lower. It actually was increased to $800 in around 2015 to actually increase global trade, allow more shipping of goods from other countries.
So smaller parcels can get into the U.S. duty-free, or will at least until August 29th here. It sounds like it was a loophole. Is it a loophole?
You know, you could call it a loophole. It's a matter of perspective, I suppose, if you call it a loophole or not. Like I said, so in 2015, the value was increased to $800. It actually started back in, I want to say like 1938, and it was about $1. So it was really meant for these trivial items you were bringing into the country. And it wasn't necessarily thought of a loophole when it was increased to that value, but was to encourage economic activity, to encourage more items to come in. So I like to think of things of like, if you do want to buy a crafted item on Etsy from a seller in Germany, you don't have to worry about the duties as a person-to-person seller. So it really allowed these sort of cross-country sales to happen. And that was kind of what this $800 allowed. Now, it wasn't just for individuals, it's for big business too. So
sure.
Any sort of business, if it's under $800.
Is it the kind of thing, though, where it has to be, you have to be there when it comes across, it has to come across in an individual package? What were the rules?
It didn't have to be to an individual, so it could be what we call direct-to-consumer. So if I'm shopping a big retailer that took advantage of the de minimis opportunity was Temu, so they sold direct to consumers. So it was under $800, sent straight to the consumer. They were able to utilize that opportunity. But it could also go to a business. If I was ordering something for a small, medium, or large business and it was valued under $800, I also would be able to use that.
But if you were ordering something valued under $800 and you wanted 50 of these things, did you have to order them individually to get under that tax?
Yes, you would have to have separate orders, and that is something that is being looked at in was looked at in the changes before it was completely repealed. Of is there ways we look at the changing of the de minimis policy of if there's so many orders in a time frame, and honestly, part of why I think it was just taken away is because there are too many ways to work around this. You know, if I order $800 3 times in a day.
And I want to get to that in a second here. But as far as just eliminating it, this means that nothing is too small to matter. This means that if it is $5, you got to go through the whole process, correct?
It does. So everything is now subject to tariff and duty, which has major implications for the direct-to-consumer businesses. So especially one that we talk about a lot in fashion are these fast fashion, or what I like to think of as ultra-fast fashion, because you're Shein and Temu, where they're selling a lot of really small parcels,
yes,
direct-to-consumer, and those are now all subject. So they're actually changing their supply chain. They're changing the way they're managing their goods. They're looking at domestic partnerships with importers so that they're housing a lot of the goods now in the U.S. and looking at how do we move big shipments, much like traditional fashion and retail would do it, where you hold it in a warehouse here.
But if you do hold that in a warehouse here and you make sure the point of origin is here, doesn't that mean that this makes sense? And that's the goal, is to get more business in America.
And yeah, and that is one of the benefits of this change. It does create, with policy changes, there are many things that we can see shifting, but when we think about the big businesses and how they're impacted by this in fashion, these ultra-fast fashion brands like Shein and Temu, they are shifting to more of a traditional fashion retail model, and it does create more opportunity for other US-based retailers. I also like to think of it compared to our other sectors of fashion retail. I always think of Shein and Temu, like I use the term ultra fast fashion because they're putting out so much product so quickly.
Yeah.
They don't have physical retail stores, so they're not launching collections, they're not styling product in the way that a lot of our traditional fast fashion retailers even still did.
Interesting.
So they're creating, by revoking the de minimis exemption, they are leveling the playing field a little bit by requiring this extra attention, creating this landing in the U.S., and also there is a price increase that we will see as consumers.
And also, not just these companies, but the little person, the person in Romania making something on Etsy, and everyone selling something overseas on eBay. Those now get affected.
Yes, and that's one of the areas that in fashion space we're most kind of concerned about is the small businesses, because they're the ones that have the hardest time reacting to it. They're not as versed with global trade policy, and if the U.S. isn't a huge part of their business, but they're selling some to the U.S., they're likely to lose some customers if they ship here, and the customer's goods get held up because the duty wasn't paid on it, and all of a sudden USPS is contacting that customer saying, hey, you owe a duty, you owe an import fee on this good, and that customer is of course unhappy that they didn't know. So it's challenging for these individual retailers as we navigate the changes.
And no one likes delays, especially when you're ordering online. Who pays the duty now? Will the business pay it? Will the consumer pay it? Is it just wait and see?
Ultimately, the consumer pays it, but it's a matter of whether it's baked into the retail price.
Right, right.
So unfortunately, that is typically what we're seeing, and what brands are looking at is putting that into the retail price. That's why we're seeing the price increases. Shein has already increased their prices of roughly 30% across their website. It varies by product category, but taking into account where goods are coming from, the different tariff rates based on product category, things like that. But so it does come through in the cost of goods.
So when it comes through in the cost of goods, what does it mean as far as the economy is concerned?
So we already are seeing some consumers hold back on shopping a little bit. So they are still out and shopping. What's interesting, actually, from fashion specifically, so when I talk about fashion, apparel, accessories, and footwear, we actually saw prices drop this summer. We didn't see a price increase. But the reason for that is logical from an industry standpoint. When we were buying goods, we buy goods a year in advance as brands.
Okay.
So when everything was purchased by a retailer, they didn't know that there was going to be changes to policy. So what happened when summer hit is we took huge markdowns. But consumers are unsure, and spending comes back a little bit. It does encourage some more thought, and from a consumption standpoint, there's a benefit to that as well. We have a consumption kind of problem as consumers, I suppose, where we like to buy a lot. So that might not be a bad thing, where maybe we buy more purposely, but it does create that consideration.
Last question here. Exemptions, I guess, increased to $1 billion in 2023. In other words, hundreds of millions of packages. We're getting around this. Obviously, that's, as you mentioned, the dynamics will change big time. Is there a way in which you maybe put a little bit of a ceiling in there so that if you don't buy something for $5, you don't have to go through all the... Is this the be-all and end-all? Do you think this is going to be addressed again sometime down the road by Congress?
I do. I don't, if we're talking policy, I don't think there ever is really an end-all, be-all.
Right.
And fashion particularly is always changing, always updating, especially, fast fashion as a sector that's really been affected by this. It's changed every decade significantly.
Well, and I hate to interrupt you here because we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you about that. What does this mean? This is purely non-economics here. What does it mean about fashion? Will fashion change in a different way?
Definitely. Fashion is constantly changing. I mean, one of the questions I'm even asking right now is fashion even just what you wear anymore? If you look at fashion brands, they're selling home goods, they're talking about skateboards, they're talking about your luggage. So what is fashion? How are we going to sell it to goods? Is it going to be the packages that it comes in is also part of the fashion good, and that's part of how we ship it and how we think about what's delivered? I mean, fashion in and of itself is the expression, the item, and how we interact with it. So I think it's going to constantly evolve, and how we get that good to consumer is one piece of the puzzle.
Wow. Danielle Testa, ASU FITM, again, fashion industry, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's good to have you here. Good information.
Thank you for having me. Fantastic.
I'm Chef Mark Tarbell. Welcome to Check Please Arizona, the show where Arizona residents recommend their favorite restaurants.
In this episode, we're traveling around the valley, stopping in Ahwatukee, Old Town Scottsdale, and Central Phoenix.
It was a little low-key, for sure, but I think the food and the plating especially really just kind of brought my attention.
Now my mouth is watering. That's awesome. That's an indication that it's good.
Thursday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Were you aware that hiking can be healing? Today we'll hike a gorgeous trail in Sedona and spend some time learning about yoga and meditation. And later, we'll chat with some experts on how hiking and spending time in nature can benefit us and tour some trails in the beautiful Desert Botanical Gardens.
So come on, let's take a hike.
Thursday night at 7:30 on Arizona PBS.
Justice never sleeps. I don't think this was an accident.
Precisely.
We're good.
And all of this is being done in secret.
A project of secret keeping.
There's a connection here. We'll find out what it is. Is it murder? We need to start investigating.
You could start there. We have a match. Time is, as they say, of the essence.
Arizona is one of 9 states meeting the Anti-Defamation League standards in fighting anti-Semitism. That's according to a recent report just released by the ADL. The report also found that hate crimes in the U.S. last year hit near record levels. For more on all this, we welcome Sarah Cater. She's Deputy Regional Director of ADL's Desert Region. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so one of 9 states designated as a leading state. What does all this mean?
Right, so ADL just recently came out with the JPI, the Jewish Policy Index, which is a practical, meaningful tool for policymakers and the community to identify where our states fighting anti-Semitism in the right way at the State House and where are there gaps.
Does it surprise you that Arizona was top 10?
No, you know, it really doesn't. As someone from Arizona, I'm really proud of that accomplishment, and we've been working really hard at ADL and in the Jewish community.
Okay, so, and again, aligns with ADL recommendations and meets ADL standards for fighting anti-Semitism. What are some of those recommendations? What are some of those standards?
Right, so the JPI is categorized into 3 different categories. So we have prioritizing fighting anti-Semitism, educating about the Jewish experience, and promoting, what do
I think it's protecting Jewish community.
Protecting Jewish community, you got it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the PEP, yeah, protecting the Jewish community.
Okay, yeah.
So there are 22 criteria within those 3. There are 15 core principles and 7 bonus, and we go through each 22 for all the states.
And has Arizona always been, is this as high as Arizona's been? Top 10 is pretty good.
It is good. So this tool is new. It just came out
okay.
as a response really to the increase of anti-Semitism we've seen. So we know that ADL has this annual audit on anti-Semitism, calendar year January through December, and last year was the highest year ever recorded in the United States with 9,354 incidents.
Yeah, I want to get to that in a second here, especially what happened here recently in the Phoenix area. But as far as things that Arizona was cited for and noted for, laws barring state government contracts with entities that boycott Israel. Talk to us about that.
Right. So in terms of prioritizing fighting anti-Semitism, we look at what policies do that and have done that well historically. And anti-BDS statutes have done that. And Arizona has had one on the books for quite some time. Defining anti-Semitism is also a statute that Arizona has had for several years. One gap that we see in terms of fighting anti-Semitism is a task force at the state government to combat anti-Semitism. So that's something we're hoping Arizona will create. You know, Arizona has a 68 out of 100 in this score, and so 60 to 100 is leading. We're doing well, but there is still room for improvement.
Wow, okay, so 68 gets you in the top 10,
That's
huh?
right.
Okay.
This is the first iteration of the JPI, so we wanted to give states the opportunity to evaluate, and we also know legislation takes time.
Right.
And sometimes it's going to take a few years.
You talked about the definition. This is adapted by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, if I'm not mistaken here.
That's right.
I did some research on it. That's what it shows. What does that mean, though? What is that definition?
Right, so that defines anti-Semitism as actions against Jews that are hateful, including harassment and vandalism and assault. But it also says that criticism against the Israeli government is not anti-Semitic. So it definitely makes clear that you can criticize the Israeli government and it will not be anti-Semitic.
I was going to say, because critics will say that does this include campus rallies that were against Israeli actions in Gaza? I mean, how does this work?
Right. So that's really, really important. And part of our audit was identifying which protests were anti-Semitic and which weren't. And I want to be very, very clear that anti-Israel protests are not, by their very nature, anti-Semitic. So there were thousands of anti-Israel protests that we've identified. Most did not land in the audit as an anti-Semitic incident. So we need to be identifying certain language. Sometimes in these protests there were swastikas, there were people saying Heil Hitler, but also there might have been using terms like globalize the Intifada, which ADL has identified as anti-Semitic. So it really depends on the situation.
Yeah, and there are situations where Israelis are protesting against Israeli action.
I mean, just last week, millions of Israelis are in the streets marching about the war, asking for this crisis to end, the hostages to come home, and aid to flow in.
In Arizona, we had, 122, something like that, incidents last year, and we just had another incident in the news today regarding a Phoenix area synagogue. Talk to us about that.
We did. This was an individual that was posting violent threats online against this particular Jewish institution and taping up flyers allegedly, really awful anti-Semitic tropes. And so, these are things that scare folks, and understandably so. Our audit was for 24, but as you know, we had murders of Jews in the United States this year that will come out in our audit when it's released in April of next year in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado. And Jews are very understandably terrified, and these incidents make that worse.
And these anti-Jewish hate crimes at record levels, near record levels, does it really even matter? I mean, they're up there.
It does matter. I think data drives policy at ADL. So we're really looking at what is the real situation. And, the decrease we saw in Arizona was slight. In 2020, there were 20 incidents of anti-Semitism.
Really?
And so this past year being 100 more than that is deeply concerning.
Of course, you have to look at COVID as being perhaps a factor back in 2020.
Sure, but even before 2020, they were even lower than that.
Why do you think that's happening?
I think there are multiple reasons. I think you see this really polarization politically with rhetoric that is deeply divisive. I think you see social media and the proliferation of many of these ideas, and really the radicalization of folks and making it really normalized to not only say awful things, but act on them.
Yeah. With that in mind, okay, Arizona, one of 9 states, leading states, and again, 122 incidents, not good, but apparently not bad, relatively speaking here. What do you take? What do you want people to take from this report?
We want policymakers to be able to look and see the gaps and work with us on improving, creating a task force. There's opportunities for increased hate crimes legislation that we're hoping to work on in the next legislative session. So like I said, there's good, but there's room, and this JPI is for the entire country, so every state is evaluated. And we want people to report. We want people to take things matter seriously, and we're really also asking the non-Jewish community that if they see a swastika somewhere, if they see something anti-Semitic, report to ADL, call law enforcement, be with us in this fight.
And last question, do you feel like you have lawmakers' ears, more so than in the past?
I think so. We really do. ADL drafted legislation to address swatting of synagogues that happened 2 years ago, which was passed. It had bipartisan support. The governor signed it, and that protected not only Jewish institutions, but all places of worship, including churches and mosques and schools. And so we really are seeing policymakers care about this issue on both sides of the aisle, and we look forward to working with them.
Sarah Cater, ADL Desert Region, good information, and thank you so much for sharing. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, NATO leaders plan what role U.S. and European forces could play in the future defense of Ukraine. That's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
A new global study shows that fresh water is disappearing at alarming rates. Research using 20 years of satellite data reveals unprecedented continental drying. Jay Famiglietti with ASU's School of Sustainability joins us now. Jay, it's good to see you again. This is a new study. This is not good. First of all, when we talk about fresh water, what exactly are we talking about?
So we're talking about the water that is on land or in the ice sheets, as opposed to in the ocean. And then when we're on land, we're talking about snow and ice and soil moisture, surface water in our rivers and our reservoirs, and groundwater.
Okay, so the research used 20 years of satellite data. Talk to us more about that, because that's fascinating.
Well, it's very cool data. It's data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment, or GRACE mission, which has been running since 2002. And it allows us to track the changes around the world in all the water that's available on a monthly basis. And then when we look over the 22 years, we can look at the long-term trends, and that's a lot of what we reported on in that study.
What does the satellite data show? Because a lot of aquifers and such, I would think, would be difficult to see.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of using the gravity data, by the way. It's a gravity mission, and so it's actually weighing storage changes rather than seeing something on the surface. It's weighing the changes of water mass that enter or leave the area. So that's how we can get at groundwater. But some of the key findings of the paper were the continents are drying at a very rapid clip, and the areas that are drying, the areas where that drying is occurring, are expanding at 2 times the area of California each year. That water is ending up in the ocean and driving up sea level rise. And when we look across the world, we're seeing that about 75% of the population lives in the 101 countries that have lost fresh water over the last 22 years.
Something you mentioned is counterintuitive, and that is losing fresh water, sea levels increase. How does that dynamic work?
So there's not that many places where water can go on the Earth. It's frozen in the ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica. There's water in the ocean. There's water on the continents. And there's water stored in the atmosphere, but really not very much. By comparison to the ice sheets and the ocean and the land, the atmosphere doesn't store very much. And there's really only one place that water is going to go when it leaves the continents, or it leaves Greenland, or it leaves Antarctica, through runoff, through melting, through evaporation. It ends up in the ocean.
Interesting. Arizona, desert Southwest, I can't imagine the picture is very good.
It's not only in Arizona, but across, we talk about this mega drying region of southwestern North America. And so it's not just the southwestern U.S., it extends down into Mexico as well. And so we're right in the crosshairs of this drying and climate change and the need to really protect groundwater.
And I read, I think, from the report that the dry areas, they're drying out faster than the wet areas are getting wetter, correct?
That's exactly right. That's right. And as I mentioned, the areas that are getting drier are growing. And so by definition, then that means that the areas that are getting wetter are getting smaller.
Only the tropics are doing well, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So what do we do? Besides wringing our hands here? What can be done?
So that's an excellent question, and I've been wringing my hands for most of my career trying to figure out how we can get this message out. I think public awareness is important at all levels, from the general public to our environmental managers, resource managers, and our elected officials around the world. In the United States, in places like Arizona, we're thinking very carefully about and acting on improving our groundwater management. So that's positive, because that needs to be done. The real challenge, I think, is internationally. How do we elevate what we talk about in this paper, the loss of freshwater, the rapid changes? How do we elevate it to the level at which we talk about carbon dioxide?
Yeah.
That's a huge challenge.
It's a challenge, but I would imagine if you explain what it means as far as food is concerned, what it means as far as water security is concerned, maybe some of that drifts into the consciousness, huh?
I think those are really, really important levers, helping people understand why this is important. It's more than just an academic research paper. It affects the food that's on your table, right? It affects your national security, your international relationships. It's water. It's, you know, it's everywhere.
You have described this as an all-hands-on-deck moment, and this is a research paper. And sometimes research papers gather dust on shelves, and other times people see them, they use them, and they act on them. What do you want to see done with this research?
So I want to see things happen at a couple of levels. I want to see things happen statewide, and not just in Arizona, but in all the states, thinking about the United States and thinking very carefully about groundwater management. And internationally, globally, I would like to see more discussions of water and water security in the UN, IPCC, you know, in that climate change framework. You know, we talk about the COP meetings, really need to be talking about water alongside of carbon and alongside of food at those meetings.
Interesting. Jay Famiglietti, again, ASU School of Sustainability. Well, I hope people are starting to pay attention.
I hope so. Let's say that they really need to.
Yeah, all right. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.